start, I wanted to mention something about Peace Corps. So Peace Corps is a federal agency that sends Americans overseas to help out in economic or social development around the world. They don't go to any country unless they're invited. It's a 2-year program that supports you in every fashion and way. They take care of you as funding, health, housing, and training. So if you want to learn more about Peace Corps, you please go to their website, www.peacecorps.gov, and you get as much information, technical information, as you're looking for. But today's episode is not about Peace Corps recruiting or anything like that, but it is about sharing some experience. It just happened to be about Peace Corps. All right? Come on, let's continue. Hey everyone, this is Leslie Jean-Pierre, Geeks and Company Geeking Out. And again, this series is about community. And in community, we have Peace Corps. And we have a guest today, and today is Michael Jenkins. So, Michael, where did you serve and what was your program?
I served in South Africa. I was what they call a community resource volunteer. So we trained primary school teachers, which is the same as elementary school here. And we trained them in this new educational system that South Africa was transitioning to called outcomes-based education. And they took primarily people that had backgrounds of math, science, English, education in general, and we went and they trained us, and then we in turn trained the teachers.
Cool. And let's talk about Peace Corps as far as before you even get to your training camp. Mm-hmm. How did you hear about Peace Corps? And you could talk to your audience,
right.
Whatever. Who cares? Let's just chat.
So, as far as how I heard about it, well, I was actually a senior at Morehouse College, and I always wanted to travel while I was in school, but I was just so consumed with my major and trying to graduate on time and school activities. I didn't take an opportunity to do any type of travel abroad. So my senior year, the recruiter was on campus. And they were actually, CNN was there doing a special on Peace Corps recruitment efforts on college campuses. So they interviewed me.
CNN?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
yep.
cool.
CNN, yep.
Nice.
So I got a chance to be on CNN. And so I talked to the recruiter, and it just seemed like a great combination of what I was already doing, which was community service. I was involved in the community service office at Morehouse. And my desire to travel, of course, I always had a love for wanting to go to Africa. So I put in my application, and I actually was kind of not too serious about my application at first. So I put in my application and actually missed my interview.
Oh my gosh.
And my recruiter went off.
Oh my gosh.
My recruiter, who you know well, doesn't play any games.
Yeah.
And she said that if this had been Coca-Cola, IBM, you would be out.
Oh my God.
But she gave me another opportunity. But at the time, it wasn't that, I don't think it wasn't so much that I didn't take it serious. It was just that I had a lot going on. I was a part of the senior class council, so we were planning senior week, getting ready for graduation, trying to finish classes, final exams. And with all that going on, I think the week that I had my interview was the week that we had just completed our final exams. So I was just like done. And I think that weekend we had a bunch of like senior week parties and stuff. So that Monday morning, I forgot. And I called her like as soon as I realized it was probably 10 minutes after the interview was supposed to have started. And I asked if we could reschedule. So she gave me another chance, and I thanked her so much. Ended up going through the interview process and got assigned to South Africa.
Wow. Wait, okay, so back then you didn't get to choose. You actually lucked out and get in South Africa.
No, and actually, because I had taken years of French in high school and in college, I actually told them I wanted to go to French-speaking Africa. That was my complete desire. And at the time, you could put in a preference, but you couldn't actually choose. So I put down French-speaking Africa, and they came back and said, "Oh, you're going to South Africa." And I said, "South Africa?" I said, "What do they need me for in South Africa?" Because, you think of, Johannesburg and Cape Town. Like, they don't need any help there. But they said that there was a big desire to send people again that had backgrounds in math and science. I was a math major, so I said, okay, maybe it's meant to be, and I went to South Africa. And I always say that you end up exactly where you're meant to be, and I think that more than any other place, South Africa was a perfect match for me. So it worked out.
Wow. So you served around, relatively around the time I served. How many, okay, first of all, what was the diversity like, and how many African Americans was in your group, and definitely how many African American males was in your group?
So I will say that Peace Corps South Africa was unlike most Peace Corps countries. Because of the historical issues with race in South Africa, they really made a concerted effort to have a diverse group of volunteers. So I think, and they say that it's so funny because the other Peace Corps volunteers would come to South Africa and be like, oh my gosh, we don't have this in our country. Because we probably had more African Americans than any other Peace Corps. I mean, it was only 2 black males, but we had a very diverse group. I think that out of my group, probably out of a group of, I can't remember how many was in my group, maybe 20 volunteers.
Wow.
We probably had maybe 25% that were black volunteers. So a fourth of us. Like I said, only 2 black males, but several black females. We had a lot of Asians in our group, Hispanics. So it was a pretty mixed group, which was really great to see, and also really made a statement to, I think, the South African community, especially during our training, because they never saw all these races like interacting and being friends. So I think it really helped our presence being in the country.
Now, you weren't the first group, right?
I was the third group.
You was the third group, okay. Because, I think when I served, the first group was heading out there around the same time. But I heard, because I think, oh, darn, I missed the opportunity, because that was a historical moment when they, Mandela got out, and then they talked about Mandela inviting Peace Corps. But I think the first group being diverse was because of Mandela.
Yes.
He asked specifically to make it diverse, and I think from that point on, every group followed, because I know my group, again, it was just like one African American male, and I mean, we're talking about the whole countrywide, 120 people, I believe.
And I've heard that in a lot of countries. And even like in later South African groups, they have not been as diverse. It's probably the first 4 or 5 groups. It hasn't been, that diversity really hasn't continued as much.
So, okay, let's continue on with diversity. So where does that start? Does it start in recruiting? Does it start in, okay, you get a couple of people who've done Peace Corps who are of diverse backgrounds, then they, tell their friends tell their friends and their friends and so on? Or is it Peace Corps has to put more resources or, think more outside of the box?
I think it's a little bit of all of that. I worked as a recruiter, and I definitely think that getting out as a recruiter, Peace Corps putting money behind going to diverse events, to HBCUs, doing diverse events on predominantly white campuses, talking to different groups like your Hispanic groups on campus or African American student associations. I definitely think that is the beginning, the first step. But I also think that it really takes us as returned Peace Corps volunteers that are of diverse backgrounds to continue to share our stories. I know at least 3 people that went to Morehouse that told me that they joined Peace Corps because of me, because they knew I went, and they're like, oh, this is a possibility. They probably weren't even considered it because they heard that I did it, then they considered it. So I definitely think that those personal connections, from whether it's alumni from schools or friends, family, I think that definitely has an impact on encouraging other diverse people to join Peace Corps. So I think it takes Peace Corps putting the money and the effort behind the recruitment, but it also takes us as returned Peace Corps volunteers to share our stories. And I think Peace Corps can give us better platforms to be able to do that also.
Oh, okay, that's a good one too. Yeah, definitely. So the whole diversity thing is not just a one way street or one stream. Because of course there are people like both you and I who who just would probably have gone anyway eventually because we just adventurous and we like to go.
Right.
And not to say the other people who end up going are not adventurous or did not start adventurous, but they didn't think about it. So they need pioneers like us who've gone, but also come back and talk about it. But you also need Peace Corps to go into there to reinforce it, and also Peace Corps to, as you just mentioned, help with the platforming and so on, and then get all that, and then it grows and grows and grows, and yeah. So I agree with all that. I really do, because I was recruited as well, and when I recruited, when you mentioned names and you show them pictures and of people, hey, there's other African Americans who served, and when you do that, they're okay, yeah, I want to go, and of course, Africa's not, it's not the only place where Peace Corps is. So you tell them that you have people who served in Asia and here and there, and then show pictures, they get excited, and then that's how it goes. So yeah, so I agree with that. It really takes. It sounds like a what you call it, a campaign now. It really takes a community.
It really does.
No, it really does.
Yeah.
Because for the biggest thing, it's been decades. Now we've increased the number of diverse applicants. We've increased the percentage as well. Right. But I still feel that we're not there yet.
We're not where we need to be.
We're not where we need to be.
And you can see that when you look at groups of volunteers in countries, and like you said, still even today, there may be 1 or 2 African Americans in a group of 30, 40 volunteers. And you're like, this isn't representative of America. And Peace Corps technically should be a reflection of America. So when you go into other countries, the diversity that's here in the U.S. should be seen in the diversity of our volunteers. And because we don't do that, that means we need to do a better job of recruiting and sharing our stories and letting people know that they can do it.
So I'm going to ask you the same thing I asked Travis. So there are people out there who says, oh my gosh, there's so much stuff needing to be done here in our own community. Why should I go over there
Right.
and help, and so, I'm sure somebody's going to help them, just that's one of the excuses, that there's so much issues here in their own community. And on a side note, I don't see you doing anything about that now, right? But,
right.
But okay, what you doing about it? Anyhow,
Really?
so they say, why should I go over there? So what's your response? I know my response, but what's your response?
My response ultimately is, why not do both? What's preventing you from doing both? I can help young kids in Africa. I can also help young kids here. Now, I've done both in my life. I've been able to volunteer here in, low-income communities, and I was able to work with the kids in South Africa. And also for me, I look at community as larger than just, where I'm from. Of course, I grew up in Southwest Atlanta, poor community. I grew up poor myself. So I know those communities need help. But I also think that when I went to South Africa, I consider those people to be my brothers and my sisters, just as much as kids in my community here. So for me, helping them is no less than helping kids here, or helping communities there. I look at the greater community. But again, at the same time, when people say that, I always tell them, look, you can do both. I can go and volunteer. And I was only there for, 2.5 years. I'm here for a lifetime. And a lot of the stuff that I learned there, I've been able to bring back to help kids here and help communities.
I'm so glad you mentioned that, because that's usually my ultimate response. I'm like, the things you can learn over there, it's not like it's just you're giving, you are some kind of guru and you're going there, here I am. It's a learn, give or take,
so much.
And you agree, and I always tell people, Peace Corps volunteers will agree that you get so much more than you give, but tangible and intangible. But the thing is that you will learn so much that you can bring back to your own community.
Yes.
So I'm like, okay, there is a lot of help needs here in your own community. However, you go out there and help, and people are so welcome and willing to work with you. But and you're learning. By the time you come back here, you're twice as much more benefit. Your
And
neighborhood is more
better equipped to
exactly.
help people.
Yeah, exactly. So so that's why I tell them, like, the things that you can learn overseas will help you in your own community. So that's my response. Right. But as, another point too is that it's only 2 years. So some people say 2 years is a long time, but no, I don't know.
Not in the grand scheme of your life.
Time goes by so fast.
Yeah, it does.
I mean, I don't want to put the age on it, but it seemed like yesterday I was just out in the boondocks in Guinea, in my little village, Dongasegon there. Yeah. Being a farmer, although I grew up in the city.
Yeah.
So
right.
Yeah. And then now I'm here, back again. I'm like, darn. But back then, for me, living over there was a simple life, and I enjoyed it.
I loved it.
I loved it and enjoyed it, and sometimes I miss it.
I do too. I definitely do.
Especially not having to pay no bill.
Yeah.
I mean, like mortgage and stuff.
I keep thinking I should have taken them up on that offer when they offered to give me land before I left.
Yeah, I got the same thing too. I'm like, no,
land and a wife.
Yeah. The same thing they offered me. Half of my land was bauxite, and I couldn't do anything with it, but still was worth something.
Yeah.
Since we use that to make a aluminum.
Mm-hmm.
But so okay, how were you perceived there?
So I think it was a combination of things. So one, I definitely think that in comparison to the white volunteers, I think that the community was like more in the beginning more open to me. I think that there were people that assumed that because our skin color was the same that we were family. I got people welcome home. So I definitely got that. I did have people that assumed before I opened my mouth that I was South African. And so then after I started speaking, they were like, "Oh, where are you from?" But then you also have the other hand where people, "Oh, you're Black American," and of course they think that we were all rich, that we all came from wealth. I remember people saying that we all drove big cars. I had kids asking me to teach them how to rap and to play basketball, which I couldn't do either one. So there are a lot of perceptions, and a lot of it definitely comes from what they see on television and their perception of especially like rap and hip hop culture has such a huge effect on people's perception of you as a Black person in America. So I had to fight a lot of those stereotypes. But I do think that I integrated very well into my community because I was Black. I didn't have the issues that some of the white volunteers had where kids were running and screaming down the street. I knew this one girl, she actually was Hispanic. Her family was really from Mexico. And there would be kids that would be staring at her through the fence as she walked down the dirt road. And if she got close, they would run screaming.
Oh my God!
And I never had that issue, So there's a little bit of both, but there was also the expectation that I would know things that the white volunteers if I spoke the language, it would be like, "Oh, that's all you can say." If a white volunteer just said hello, in the language, they'd be like, "Oh,
yes,
they're so fluent."
Oh, yes.
And they're like, "Well, I said that plus three other words, well, you should know it, So there was that, but I do think that I became very close to my community, my family, and I think that me being Black and them being Black definitely helped me to be able to just decide to community. And also, I could walk down the street and, again, if I kept quiet and I had on my South African type clothes, they pretty much dressed like us, but I wasn't too flashy or anything. I could just blend in. I could sit on the back of a bus as long as I kept quiet. No one said anything. But when I was with a white volunteer, we got stares and looks. "Oh, you're getting on the bus, with us." So I definitely think that the perception of me helped me into being able to integrate into my community easier than the white volunteers.
Yeah, I could see that. I had pretty much similar, but